Welcome to the Owner Identity Podcast, where we empower men experiencing same-sex attraction to live a life of purpose and possibility through the power of Christ and for the glory of God. My name is Jason Meller. I am so glad you're here. Come on in, have a seat. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Picture this. You're standing in the garage. Your dad asks you to grab a wrench, and you freeze. You don't know what a wrench is. You're fumbling through the toolbox, grabbing the wrong thing, and when you hand it to him, he gets frustrated. You feel small, embarrassed, like you failed some unspoken test of manhood. That was a scene from my life. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's that moment when you're at school and the other boys are throwing a football and you don't know how to throw it right. You feel awkward and out of place, like you don't belong. You know, those moments, they stick with us. They can create this feeling of, I should know this, but I don't. And instead of asking questions, instead of seeking help, we may stay silent. We don't want to look foolish. We don't want to be a burden. But that silence creates a gap in knowledge, in confidence, in connection. And that gap shapes us in ways that we don't even realize. So today, we're going to talk about that gap, about the things we didn't learn from our dads, our mentors, or our peers, and how that shaped us. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how to fill that gap. Because the truth is, it's not a liability. That gap is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow, to connect, to stretch yourself, and to celebrate the journey of learning along the way. So, what were we supposed to learn? Let's name it. Those things boys are supposed to learn from their dads or other men in their lives. Practical skills, like how to use tools, fix things, work on a car, how to throw a ball, tie a tie, or shave. How to set goals and tackle challenges. Emotional skills. How to process and express emotion in a healthy way. How to handle rejection, failure, or disappointment. How to build confidence and self-worth. Relational skills. How to ask for help without feeling weak. How to connect with other men in a meaningful way. How to navigate conflict and communicate effectively. And spiritual skills. How to find purpose and meaning in your life. How to cultivate faith and trust in something greater than yourself, and how to align your actions with your values and beliefs. The thing is, when those lessons don't get passed down, it leaves a gap. That gap in knowledge follows us into adulthood. It shows up in our relationships, our work, our confidence, and our willingness to take on challenges. The crazy thing is, for me, I didn't even realize how much this was holding me back until I started unpacking it, until I started asking myself, why am I so afraid to try? Why do I feel so disconnected? Why do I doubt myself so much? So how do we break the cycle? How do we fill the gap and move forward? Step 1, we acknowledge the gap. Get honest with yourself about what you didn't learn and how it's impacted you. Maybe the things that you did learn that you had to unlearn. Give yourself permission to grieve what you didn't get. It's okay to feel that loss. Step 2, ask questions without shame. Start asking the questions that you were too afraid to ask before. Find mentors, friends, or resources that can help you learn what you didn't know. Remember, saying, I don't know, is a sign of strength, not weakness. Step 3, take small, brave steps. Start with one area where you feel stuck, whether it's a practical skill, an emotional challenge, or a relational issue. Take one small step to address it, and then celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Step 4, build connection. Seek out a community of men who can support and encourage you. Be vulnerable and open about your struggles. It's the fastest way to build trust and connection. And lastly, celebrate the journey. Every time you learn something new, every time you stretch yourself, every time you step outside of your comfort zone, that is a victory. So celebrate it. So I don't want to just talk concepts. I want to channel my inner 17-year-old self and think about all the stuff that he didn't learn and what I would want to tell him right now. So I'm going to list quite a few things in a few different buckets. Hopefully, you know a few of these already, but maybe you need a refresher. Maybe you don't know them at all. So get ready to have an open mind, take out your pencil and paper, write down the ones that stand out to you the most, and let's dive in. I'm going to list these out in a few different buckets. Practical skills, emotional skills, relational skills, friendship development, and spiritual development. Section 1. Practical skills, the tools for life. These are the skills that help us show up, get things done, and feel capable in the world. Let's break it down in a few key areas. Personal productivity and time management. This is a science of achievement. It's about how you structure your day, prioritize what matters, and stay focused on your goals. Here's what you may not have learned. How to set goals effectively. Not just vague, I want to be better goals, but clear, measurable, time-bound goals that align with your values. How to prioritize. Understanding the difference between what's urgent and what's important, and focusing on the latter. Time blocking. Schedule your day so that your most important tasks get done first, before distractions take over. Morning routines. Starting the day with intention, whether that's journaling, exercising, or planning your priorities. How to say no. Protecting your time and energy by setting boundaries and focusing on what truly matters. Practical skill number 2, financial literacy. This is a big one because so many people grow up without learning how to manage money. My dad taught me to save for a 401k, and I followed that rule. But other than that, he was not a good example. His credit cards got maxed out, and I didn't realize how I needed to plan out my financial future in a healthy way. Here's what I wish I had learned. Budgeting basics, how to track income and expenses and live within your means. Saving and investing. Understand the power of compound interest and the importance of building an emergency fund. Debt management, how to avoid unnecessary debt and strategies for paying it off if you have it. Negotiation skills, whether it's asking for a raise or getting a better deal, knowing how to advocate for yourself financially. Practical skill number 3, communication and influence. This is one of the most important skills because it impacts every area of your life, your relationships, your career, and your ability to lead. Here's what you may not have learned. How to speak with confidence. Whether it's public speaking or one-on-one conversations, learning to communicate clearly and assertively is key. Active listening. Truly hearing what others are saying and responding with empathy and understanding. How to give and receive feedback. Doing it in a way that builds trust and fosters growth. Storytelling. Use stories to inspire, persuade, and connect with others. Conflict resolution. Navigating disagreements in a way that strengthens relationships instead of damaging them. Skill number 4, problem solving and decision making. Life is full of challenges, and knowing how to approach them is a game changer. Here's what I never learned. Creative problem solving, thinking outside the box and finding innovative solutions. How to handle uncertainty. Ooh, I didn't like that one at all. I wanted to have life figured out so I could feel safe. We need to make decisions, even when we don't have all the answers. Resilience and failure. Learning from mistakes and using them as stepping stones to success. Man, if I screwed up, that was the end. I counted myself out, or I started over from the beginning. But that's not how life works. Lastly, under practical skills, leadership and personal development. This is where we step into the realm of high performance. Here's what we may not have learned. How to lead yourself. Setting a vision for your life, staying disciplined, and holding yourself accountable. My dad was absent in many ways, and I didn't catch that strong vision for life. How to lead others, inspiring, motivating, and empowering people to work toward a common goal. Self-awareness, understanding your strengths, weaknesses, and triggers, and using that knowledge to grow. I allowed my weaknesses and triggers to keep me stuck. How to build habits. Creating systems and routines that support your goals and make success inevitable. How to learn effectively. Developing a growth mindset and approaching every challenge as an opportunity to grow. So how do those skills impact us? These practical skills. When we don't learn them, it can leave us feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or incapable. We might avoid challenges because we don't feel prepared, or we might struggle to manage the basics of life, which creates stress and frustration. But when we step into the gap and start learning these skills, we feel more confident, more capable, and more in control of our lives. And that confidence ripples out into every area, our relationships, our faith, our work. For me, I've said it before, the thing I was most attracted to in guys is that confident sense of purpose. I thought I had to catch their confidence, but often it was just skills or tools that I never learned. And I can honor that. I can list what those things are and begin one by one to grow in those areas and celebrate it along the way. Okay, bucket number 2, emotional skills. They're the foundation of resilience and connection. When we talk about emotional skills, We are talking about the ability to understand, manage, and use emotions in a way that serves us and others. I did a survey of a lot of you listeners, and emotional skills is one of the top things that you didn't learn from your father or others in your life. So let's dive into this. Emotional skill number 1, awareness. This is the first step, being able to recognize and name what you're feeling. It sounds simple, but so many people struggle with this because they were never taught how to tune in to their emotions. And emotions are life. When we recognize emotions, we can learn to identify what we're feeling in the moment, whether it's anger, sadness, joy, or fear. And putting words to the feelings can help us process them. For example, instead of saying, I feel bad, you might say, I feel disappointed because I didn't meet my goal. And we can understand the triggers. Notice what situations, people, or thoughts tend to spark certain emotions in you. Emotional skill number 2, regulation. Once you're aware of your emotions, the next step is learning how to manage them in a healthy way. This is where emotional resilience comes in. I recently did a masterclass on this. You can go to ownyouridentitynow.com/masterclass to watch my emotional resiliency workshop. For me, the biggest driver of porn use was wanting to escape uncomfortable emotions. But when I can decide that, they're not as scary as I thought they were, and learn to regulate them and work through them, I have a lot more power and I can make more intentional decisions. You can learn breathing techniques like deep, intentional breaths to calm your nervous system when you're feeling overwhelmed. You can reframe your thoughts, shift your perspective to see challenges as opportunities instead of threats. For example, instead of thinking, I failed, you might think, I learned something valuable. You can practice patience. Learn to pause before reacting, especially in emotionally charged situations. Self-soothing. Find healthy ways to comfort yourself when you're upset, like journaling, taking a walk, or listening to music. Emotional skill number 3, empathy. That's one that my dad didn't have much of. I wanted it very bad. I wanted people to say, Jason, it's okay how you feel. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. Let me just sit with you in it. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It's one of the most powerful emotional skills because it deepens connection and builds trust. I work to practice this often with my kids. I use active listening, truly hear what someone is saying without interrupting or planning your response. Perspective taking. Try to see the situation from the other person's point of view. That's common sense, but not always common practice. Validate emotions. Let others know that their feelings are valid, even if you don't agree with them or don't understand them. For example, say, I can see why you'd feel that way, instead of just dismissing their experience. Emotional skill number 4, expression. This is about communicating your emotions in a way that's honest and constructive. Use I statements. Express your feelings without blaming others. For example, I feel hurt when you canceled plans at the last minute, instead of saying, you're so inconsiderate. Set boundaries. This is a big one that many of us need to practice more of. Clearly communicate what you need and what you're not okay with in a way that respects both yourself and the other person. Celebrate emotions. This is a crazy thought when I've learned to suppress them all my life, but we can allow ourselves to fully feel and express positive emotions like joy, gratitude, and excitement. Often, I don't stop to celebrate the wins and really integrate the successes in life and the blessings and gratitude that God has given me in a way that brings full emotion into my life. And that's what life is about. If I don't have those beautiful emotions and express that in a powerful way, then I'm going to want to turn to something else to get that feeling that I desire. Emotional skill number 5, resilience and emotional strength. This is the ability to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward, even when things get tough. We can have self-compassion, treating ourselves with kindness and understanding when we are struggling, instead of beating ourselves up. I know we can all use more self-compassion. We can learn from failure, view mistakes as opportunities to grow rather than evidence of our inadequacy. Build optimism. Choose to focus on what's possible rather than dwelling on what's wrong. Practice gratitude. Reflecting on what you're thankful for shifts your focus from scarcity to abundance. How do emotional skills impact us? When we don't develop these, it can leave us feeling stuck, disconnected, or overwhelmed. We might struggle to handle stress, avoid difficult conversations, or feel like we're constantly at the mercy of our emotions. But when we step into the gap and start building these skills, things change. Emotional skills are not something you're born with. They're something that you can learn and practice. And the best part is that every time you grow emotionally, you're not just improving your life, but you're improving the lives of those around you, and you're making a greater impact for the kingdom. Okay, bucket number 3, relational skills, the art of connection. Relationships are more than just getting along. They're about creating a sense of belonging, trust, and mutual growth. These skills are the glue that holds families, friendships, and communities together. Let's explore the tools and practices that help us thrive relationally. Relational tool number 1, build trust through consistency. Trust isn't built in a day, it's built through consistent actions over time. Show up consistently, whether it's being on time, following through on promises, or simply being present. Consistency builds reliability. Be transparent. Share your intentions, even when it feels vulnerable. For example, I want to have this conversation because I care about our relationship. Own your mistakes. When you mess up, acknowledge it. Relational tool number 2, create emotional safety. People thrive in relationships where they feel safe to be themselves. So you can practice non-judgment. Just listen without jumping to conclusions or offering unsolicited advice. Let other people know their emotions are valid. This is so big. Show that you're someone they can count on, whether it's for support, encouragement, or just a listening ear. Relational tool number 3, deepening connection through curiosity. Curiosity is the antidote to stagnation in relationships. It keeps things fresh and fosters understanding. Ask meaningful questions. Go beyond, how are you? And ask, man, what's been inspiring you lately? Or what's something that you've been thinking about a lot? Be genuinely interested. Show that you care about their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Create opportunities to grow, learn, and have fun together, whether it's trying a new activity or tackling a challenge as a team. Tool 4, navigating conflict with grace. Conflict is inevitable, but it doesn't have to be destructive. Stay calm and focused. Take a deep breath and focus on the issue at hand, not the person. Seek solutions, not victory. Approach conflict as a problem to solve together rather than a battle to win. Tool 5, giving and receiving feedback. Feedback is a gift, but it's one that requires skill to give and receive effectively. Here's what you might not have learned. Be specific and constructive. Instead of saying, you're not doing a good job, try, I think this could be even better if we tried X. Focus on behavior, not character. Address actions, not the person. Receive feedback with openness. Listen without defensiveness and ask clarifying questions to understand the other person's perspective. Tool 6, celebrate differences. Relationships thrive when we honor each other's uniqueness. We can practice empathy, try to see the world through their eyes, even if their perspective is different from yours. Relational tool number 7, build a culture of appreciation. Express appreciation often. Don't wait for special occasions. Tell people what you value about them often. When we don't develop relational skills, it can leave us feeling isolated, misunderstood, or disconnected. We might struggle to build trust, avoid conflict, or feel like we're not truly seen or valued by others. Raise your hand if you can relate to any of that. Bucket number 4, create meaningful friendships. Relationships are great to look at as a whole, but man, what about developing those key friendships that we want? Here's how we do it. Create connection. Be intentional about where you look for a friend. Find shared spaces of growth. Join communities, groups, or events where people are striving for similar goals. Volunteer together. Some of the best friendships are formed while serving others. When you're working side by side to make a difference, you naturally connect on a deeper level. Be the initiator. Don't wait for others to come to you. Take the first step. Introduce yourself. Invite someone to coffee or start a conversation. I know this is a tough one because sometimes it can feel like I'm initiating all the time. It's always me doing the initiating, and I honor that. But continue to do it because it's going to pay off over time. Show up as your authentic self. Be vulnerable from the start. Share a little bit about who you are, what you care about, and what excites you. Vulnerability is magnetic and invites others to do the same. Ask meaningful questions. Go beyond small talk. Ask, what's been inspiring you lately? Or what's a dream that you're working on right now? These questions spark connection. Be generous with your energy. Smile, listen, and show genuine interest in others. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen and valued. That's true for me. Friendship tool number 2, sustaining friendships. Once you've created a connection, the next step is to sustain it. Give your friendship structure and something to look forward to. Be present. When you're with your friends, give them your full attention. Put away your phone, listen deeply, and engage fully. Invest in their growth. Celebrate their wins. Be the friend who cheers the loudest when they succeed. Send a text, make a call, or show up with balloons, whatever it takes to let them know that you're proud of them. That's big. Support their struggles. When they're going through a tough time, be there. Sometimes that means offering advice, and sometimes it just means sitting with them in silence. Brainstorm together. Great friendships are generative. They help you grow. Be the friend who says, let's figure this out together. Or, hey, I've got your back. What's the next step? Communicate openly. Express appreciation. Don't wait for a special occasion to tell your friends what they mean to you. Address issues early. If something's bothering you, bring it up with kindness and honesty. Avoiding conflict only creates distance. Tool 3, how to deepen friendships. Deepening a friendship is about moving from surface-level connection to a bond that is rich, meaningful, and enduring. It takes courage. It's not always easy, but here's some tools to take it to the next level. Share your ideas, goals, and concerns. Talk about your dreams. Let your friend in on what you're working toward and what excites you. This creates a sense of shared purpose. Be honest about your struggles. When you share your fears or challenges, you invite your friends to do the same. Vulnerability deepens trust. Brainstorm together. Use your friendship as a space for growth. Say, I've been thinking about this idea. What do you think? Or, I'm stuck on this. Can we talk it through? Create shared experiences. Celebrate milestones. Hold space for your friends' growth. Encourage them to chase their dreams, even if it means that they're growing in a different direction than you are. When we create, sustain, and deepen meaningful friendships, it transforms our lives. We feel more connected, supported, and understood. We have people to celebrate with in the good times and lean on in the hard times. And we become part of something bigger than ourselves, a community of love, growth, and connection. I know we have all longed for that. Please, don't give up on it. Keep pressing forward and trust God that He will flourish your efforts. Bucket number 5, spiritual skills. Living with connection, surrender, and purpose. Spiritual tool number 1, let go of expectation to receive God's best. One of the most powerful spiritual practices is learning to release our tight grip on how we think life should go. When we let go of rigid expectations, we create space for God to move in ways we couldn't have imagined. Here's how to practice this. Release the how and trust the who. Instead of obsessing over how things are going to work out, focus on who God is. Faithful, loving, and sovereign. Proverbs 16:9 reminds us, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. Practice open-handed prayer. When you pray, imagine physically opening your hands as a symbol of surrender. Say, Lord, I trust you to bring what's best, even if it's not what I expected. Reframe disappointment. When things don't go as planned, ask, what might God be teaching me here? How could this be preparing me for something greater? Spiritual tool 2. Embrace the truth that we're all connected. Our lives are intertwined in ways we don't often realize or understand. Recognizing this connection can help us live more compassionately, humbly, and purposefully. See others as reflections of God's image. Every person you meet is made in the image of God. Treat them with the dignity and love they deserve. Practice empathy. When someone frustrates you, pause and ask, what might they be going through? How can I respond with grace? Contribute to the greater good. Remember that your actions ripple out into the world. Whether it's a kind word, a generous act, or simply showing up with integrity, you are part of something bigger. Tool 3. Living in the present moment. How many of you find yourself dwelling on the past, getting stuck, repeating something over and over again, or living out 20 years in the future, afraid of what might happen, and not being present? Spiritual growth often begins with learning to be fully present. When we're stuck in the past or anxious about the future, we miss the beauty and opportunities of the here and now. Anchor yourself in gratitude. Start each day by thanking God for 3 specific things. Gratitude pulls you into the present and reminds you of His goodness. Use your breath as a reset button. When you feel overwhelmed, take a deep breath and say, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Let that truth center you. Notice the sacred in the ordinary. Whether it's the warmth of the sun on your face or the laughter of a friend, look for God's presence in the small, everyday moments. Tool 4. Surrendering control and trusting God's timing. This is a big one. So many of us struggle with wanting to control every detail of our lives. Me, I do that. But true peace comes when we surrender to God's timing and trust His plan. Adopt a daily bread mindset. Jesus taught us to pray, "Give us this day our daily bread." Matthew 6:11. Focus on what you need for today rather than worrying about tomorrow. Some days, that's easier said than done. Release the need for perfection. God doesn't expect you to have it all figured out. He simply asks for your faith and obedience. Take the next right step and trust Him with the rest. Remember His faithfulness. Reflect on times when God has come through for you in the past. Let those memories strengthen your trust in His timing. Spiritual skill number 5. Practice stillness and listening. In our noisy, fast-paced world, it's easy to miss God's voice. Stillness is where we hear Him most clearly and reconnect with our true selves. Set aside quiet time daily. Even 5 minutes of silence can make a difference. Use this time to pray, meditate on Scripture, or simply sit in God's presence. Listen for His guidance. Ask, "Lord, what do you want to show me today?" Then be still and open to His leading. Journal your reflections. Writing down your thoughts and prayers can help you process what God is revealing to you. Spiritual tool 6. Cultivate a spirit of generosity. Generosity is one of the most tangible ways to reflect God's love and abundance. It's not just about giving money, it's about living with an open heart. Give without expecting anything in return. You've heard that said, but wow, it is a beautiful experience. Whether it's your time, resources, or encouragement, give freely, knowing that God will provide for you. Be generous with your words. Speak life into others. A simple, "I see the good in you," can change somebody's day, or even their life. Trust in God's provision. When you give, you are declaring that you trust God to meet your needs. Luke 6:38 says, "Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." Tool 7. Expanding your imagination for what's possible. I like this a lot. This is where faith and creativity collide. God's plans for us are often bigger and more beautiful than we can imagine, but we have to be willing to dream with Him. Ask God for vision. Pray, "Lord, show me what's possible. Help me see beyond my limitations and trust in your power." Dream boldly, but hold it loosely. Pursue your dreams with passion, but stay open to God redirecting you. His plans are always better. Surround yourself with dreamers. Spend time with people who inspire you to think big and trust God more deeply. When we embrace these spiritual skills, truths, and practices, we experience a profound shift. We move from striving to surrender, from isolation to connection, from fear to faith. We become more grounded, more compassionate, and more open to the beauty and mystery of life, and ultimately reflect God's love and grace in a way that draws others closer to Him. I want to pause here and acknowledge that you may have heard this long list of things that everybody should learn as they grow up into adulthood. And you may think, well, I counted 7, 8, maybe, of those things that I learned. And we can stop and grieve the fact that, man, I didn't get set up for success in many of these areas of life. These practical skills, relational skills, spiritual development, and I need to honor that younger version of myself that missed out on what he needed to learn in life to be able to move forward with intention, excitement, and possibility. Honoring our younger selves is a great tool to wrap all this up together. Acknowledge what we went through, grieve what we didn't receive, and offer ourselves compassion. It's one of the most healing and transformative practices that we can engage in. It's not just about looking back with sadness. It's about creating space for understanding, releasing the weight of unmet needs, and stepping into a future with more hope, energy, and confidence. I'd like to start off by sharing what some of you said were learning gaps in your life. Thank you for sharing these with me. And I'm glad to be able to share these with everybody else, because I imagine many of us will say, oh yeah, me too. Evan says, The message I got from my dad was that being a man simply meant not being a girl. That was his main message. A man is not a girl. It was so confusing. I was left trying to avoid anything that seemed girly without any real guidance or standard for what healthy manhood actually is. I started cutting off parts of myself, anything I thought didn't fit the mold. And in the process, I lost the freedom to just be me. I ended up pretending to be like my dad, copying how he acted, even though we were very different people with completely different personalities. Looking back, I wish he had honored who I truly am. I wish he had respected my uniqueness and walked with me, not to shape me into a copy of himself, but to help me discover what being a man looks like for me. George says, "No one taught me how to repair things, how to be brave, and not allow humiliation from bullies, how to take risks, how to drive a car, how to flirt with a girl, how to be a man. And now I've been trying to learn all this stuff, but gosh, it looks scary and unreachable to me." Thanks, George, for your input. Jason says, "How to show and to perhaps be proud of feelings. I was taught boys don't cry, which led to me believing that since I was crying, then I must not be a boy. Now, as a confident adult man, I cry at appropriate times and realize that my emotions are nothing to be ashamed of." Joshua says, "I wish my dad taught me that making mistakes and failures are part of growth." Cameron says, "Fundamentally, from all the males in my life growing up, I never learned to be safe with men, to be known, to be loved, to be welcomed, to be held, to be comforted, to be one of, long before same-sex attraction ever started for me." Kent says, "I was never taught how to fix things or handle a ball. My dad had an accounting background and was a whiz at finances, but didn't show me how to manage money. When I asked about a financial situation, my mom said to apply for a credit card. God brought a friend into my life who let me shadow him when he was helping with projects around my house. God used the financial peace ministry at my church to help me understand finances better. God has redeemed many things, and I have greater confidence." Todd Ringness, in his book, Not Like All the Other Boys, says, "I never learned that I measured up in every way imaginable. I wondered if God made a mistake with me. But through the years of friendships, support groups, church community, and lots of Holy Spirit soul surgery, I began to believe the truth. I wasn't just enough. I was purposely crafted by my Creator, even the parts of me that I'd spent my whole life hiding." Gary says, "I wish I had learned that Christian masculinity can take many forms and breadth. The spectrum of Christian masculinity as modeled by Jesus goes far beyond the narrow cultural norms or unhealthy masculinity." Dave says, "I wish I had learned that my expression of masculinity may look different from how I will perceive other men, and that's okay. I have everything I need to be a part of the man club. I am enough." Robert says, "Some basic things I never learned from my father included how to play sports, maintain or fix my car, or even repair my bike. Skills I saw in other boys, but which I had no clue about." He says, "When I was 19, my uncle was working in his garage at home and had a flat tire on his car. He handed me the tools and said, 'Go ahead, fix it.' I told him I don't know how to change a tire. He looked at me and asked, 'Didn't your dad teach you?' When I said no, the look on his face said it all, like I should already know this. And in that moment, I didn't feel like a man. I felt like something was missing or there was something wrong with me. The embarrassment and shame I felt was deep and crushing, all at the same time." But beyond those practical skills, he says, there was something even more important I didn't learn from my father: affection. My dad never hugged me or showed any kind of emotions towards me. This was a connection I craved from my father throughout elementary, junior high school, and even college years. But because of this, I grew up not knowing how to express affection or form close bonds with others, which affected my relationships as an adult. It felt foreign to me then, and even to this day, it still feels a little unnatural to show affection to my siblings, family members, or friends. The absence of affection also made it difficult for me to truly love myself and build a strong self-confidence. Robert continues, "The basic skills I have today, I have had to learn on my own. I felt like all throughout my childhood and teenage years, I was in survival mode. Do whatever it takes to get your sense of manhood. Maybe it'll stop me from having same-sex desires. Ultimately, it was through spending time in prayer and in the presence of God that Robert truly came to understand his fatherly love for him. So, after we get clear on what it was that we didn't learn, we can acknowledge that boy who didn't receive what he needed. We can grieve what wasn't there, honor his strength, reparent ourselves with love and intention, find hope for today and tomorrow, cast a new vision for ourselves. We can ask, what kind of man do I want to be moving forward? How can I honor my younger self by living with intention and purpose and asking God to bring the knowledge that I need to be purposeful in my life? So here's my challenge to you. What is one thing that you didn't learn growing up? And how can you fill that gap in knowledge? And how can you honor your younger self that needed to know that but was never taught it? Be that big brother to yourself. Say, I see you and I'm proud of you. This week, I want to challenge you to take one small step to fill that learning gap. Maybe it's asking a friend to teach you something. Maybe it's watching a tutorial online. Maybe it's joining a group or community where you can learn and grow alongside others. And maybe it's asking a question that you were too afraid to ask. Whatever it is, take that first step. It's never too late to learn, grow, and celebrate every step along the way. And here's one more thing you may not have been taught: how to navigate your same-sex attractions, observing them without judgment, and living intentionally the life you truly want to live. I'd like to teach you how to do that. If you would like either one-on-one coaching or group coaching alongside like-minded Christian men, book a free coaching session at ownyouridentitynow.com. I would love to hear your story, provide some valuable tools, and open the door to work together further. And lastly, I want you to know that you aren't defined by the gaps in your learning. You are defined by the one who calls you his, and he is excited to show you what's possible. You've got this, and God's got you. I'll talk with you soon.